we should get right into it, shall we? We are almost done with The Good Wife. Are you excited?
Through at least one season. I mean, I'm not...
Through at least one season, right.
We haven't gotten to the decision yet that we will in the next episode as to whether or not we want to ever revisit this.
Right. Yeah. Well,
theoretically, you can pose the same question to me that I did to you on last season.
Correct. We'll have to see how this season ends for you. We'll have to see how this episode ends for you, or a couple of episodes ended.
I will say, for what it is worth, ending at the end of 21 felt really weirdly right. That somehow the gods decided that was the right episode to end on for this particular program, because there's a big moment at the end of 21 that we'll discuss.
There is, yeah.
It felt a little cliffhangery for being the third to last episode of the season. So that was interesting.
Correct. Okay, so we're going to do the real start now. All of this talk before, because we got to actually introduce
the show.
This
isn't being cut because we're...
Oh, no, I know. I know. That's why I'm saying. And now we're going to...
Let's start the show.
Okay, so welcome back to First Watch, Rewatch, the podcast where one of us is seeing it for the first time.
And the other one doesn't have the notes up yet. And the other one already knows what's coming.
I'm Sarah, this time on the Rewatch.
And I'm Tom, watching The Good Wife for the first time.
Oh, your timing is great. So today we are covering season 1 of The Good Wife, episodes 19, 20, and 21. Those are titled Boom, Mock, and Unplugged. There's a lot of single word titles in this show. I kind of miss the longer, more creative titles in The West Wing, where you kind of sometimes had to be like, what does that mean? Just my preference. No, you don't care? You don't care about anything.
Post hoc ergo propter hoc was really like a much better title for you?
Well, yeah, because I had to look it up, and then I've already forgotten what it means. Oh, this happened because of this, whatever. I felt smart while I was looking it up. Anyway, so let's start on episode 19, Boom. Okay, directed by Leslie...
Tough acting to acting.
Boom goes the dynamite. Leslie Linka Glatter is the director, written by Ted Humphrey. Original air date is April 27th, 2010. Just right off the bat, I'm saying it, we have the return of Alan Cumming as Eli Gold, which just makes me so happy. So, here is what happens in Boom. Jeffrey Sanborn's widow, Karen Sanborn, is seeking punitive damages for her husband's death, which her new attorney, Jonas Stern, claims was the intentional act of Stern, Lockhart, and Gardner's client, Charles Gray, owner and editor... Clay? What did I say?
Gray.
Clay. Sorry. Owner and editor of the Cook County Vindicator. A Muslim extremist group claimed responsibility for the pipe bomb explosion at the newspaper's office after Charles published a controversial political cartoon that showed Muhammad being humiliated. Sanborn, the paper's managing editor, was killed in the blast. As Jonas and his team tried to convince the jury that Clay published the cartoon to sell more newspapers, the firm also looks closer at the crime scene and realizes that the bombing was an inside job. Also, Alicia plays on Jonas's dementia, throwing him off during the trial, while Carrie foils Jonas's attempt at poaching a number of the firm's associates. On the personal front, Peter and the family attend a church service, but he uses this opportunity to meet secretly with Gerald Cosgo about the latter's potentially damning testimony. Alicia is furious at Peter for making her believe he had found religion and was trying to be a better man. She leaves the Florrick apartment, and the episode ends with Peter going after her, setting off the electronic monitoring alarm. So, per usual, I'm going to ask you for your first watch impressions, but I'm going to start so that we can bleed over a little bit if we have to. What were your thoughts about the cliffhanger ending with Peter's alarm going off and him walking out the door? Yes, it already gets resolved the very next episode, but when you saw that happen, do you remember what was going through your head?
He's going back to prison where he's going to get shivved with a shank or shanked with a shiv.
Okay. You were like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought. Okay.
I think, first off, I'm glad the religious part of it is over. Being a self-described Christian, I really hate when it gets kind of, what's the right word for it? Commercialized or used in kind of this way for entertainment sake and doesn't seem to take it seriously. There's nothing that the show necessarily made light of or made fun of, but it is using it with some level of not taking it seriously.
Well, the characters don't take it seriously.
I understand.
Right.
But that's the show using it through the characters. And
exactly. Yeah.
I already hate the use of demographic politicking. I don't know if there's a better way. I've been trying to rack my brain for 10 years, trying to figure out if there's a way that campaigns can do things other than organizing people based on demographic groups and what messaging and targeting and the rest of it. And maybe there's a world eventually where that will happen, but it's not this current world. So going to church and getting this release, of which we don't see any of the legalistic portions of it, you would have thought that there would have been like a motion hearing or something somewhere in there to get him the ability to go to church, was all to supposedly recruit or better get in line with, recover some standing in the female black community.
Right.
But then Peter's listening to his mother, except then he goes against his mother. Like, he's pivoting between these two women that he wants to please and will never do so. And it doesn't exactly make sense to me.
Yeah.
But here's the part where I will criticize Alicia, at least how it's written on the page.
Okay.
At what point did she not realize who her husband is?
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Like, she feels like she's constantly surprised every time he does these major political moves. How else do you become the lead state's attorney for Cook County other than being a little shady? Like, the politics involved to get that level of height in a prosecutor's office in any major area comes with a lot of bodies buried somewhere. Did he just completely shut her out of the entire process and she was just tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la
She might have
around
been,
her
yeah.
lily white community with the picket fences and gated entries? I don't know. I don't understand why she's seemingly surprised that there are private meetings and secret stuff going on and all of this other stuff, unless she's using it as a precursor that she just wanted to give herself a permission structure to go after Will. That I could see.
I think it could be both sides could be argued. I think it's entirely possible that she didn't know that it's as shady as it is. she has a law degree but has never practiced law, so she's never actually been in that environment as an employee experiencing it until now. So she's starting to see the seedy underbelly, which people know exists in general, but when you are, unfortunately for her, I mean, the title of the show tells it, right? The good wife. She's the trophy wife. She stayed home with the kids instead of having a career. So she's not put in a position before now to have any of this information. Plus, I think he does say at some point, I protected you from knowing this stuff so it could never be used against you, etc., etc. But I do think that it's more along the lines of she's not really surprised. She's acting surprised, as you say, as this is like, come on, right? And she's just kind of like stacking up all of the transgressions so that she can I mean, this episode, she's had enough. She walks out the door. She makes plans to meet up with Will in front of Peter. And she's like, see ya. I'm going to leave. And he runs after her. And then the episode ends, right? So
it feels like she's a relationship drama queen. She needs certain levels of gesture and whatever to remain interested in the whole thing, which also doesn't seem like the character because she's small c conservative in so many other ways.
Right.
During the course of this show.
They wouldn't have stayed married at all if he had... Yeah.
I just don't understand their relationship because most high-end political relationships, your biggest confidant, other than possibly your campaign manager, which doesn't get the personal life side of you all the time. They do get some commentary on it, but he is usually your spouse because you have nobody else to confide in the level of your dark parts of your soul that come out during politics.
Well, and we did see that in The West Wing, right? With the president and the first lady, for sure, that she definitely knew things on several different levels. So I think that this is, you bring up a really good point. Is it genuine that she really doesn't know or she's surprised, or is it some sort of something else? Part of me wants to believe that she is smart enough that if she had known a lot of this stuff or had more of an inkling, that she never would have stayed. And that now she finally is understanding and her patience is wearing really, really thin. The reveal last chunk of episodes, right, where we find out that her and Will knew each other in college, and the only reason that they didn't have a relationship is because she fully took up with Peter, that there may not have been an opportunity for her to really know Peter in the correct context in order to see him as somebody who's shady. And trust me, I know what it's like to marry someone and not like really fully know who they are, and like you start feeling real uncomfortable when you start finding out the truth. So I don't know. I want her to be smart enough to not be surprised, but I also don't want her to have known and stuck around. Does that make sense? Why would she stick around?
Let me stack this on top of it. She tells the pastor, or basically tells him off, that her being there is not a sign of something other than that, and that she doesn't necessarily, she's not a believer or whatever else. So him foregoing some of his Christianity to meet in a backroom sort of manner with a guy that has some shady connections is the straw that puts or breaks the camel's back here. I don't get it. What is she exactly expecting from him? And this is why I would again lean towards, is it maybe that she just was looking for a permission structure to give herself?
It could be, but also let's think about what she sees going down. She sees what's his freaking name?
Costco.
I keep wanting to say Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove. She sees Cusco. I'm just going to say it.
Fine.
Run out of this back room, like with his shirt all the way open, clutching things like he's been violated or attacked, right? She then sees, she's like shocked at that because it's oh, I just saw this guy. I talked to him at the firm. Then she sees her husband emerge from this room and he's like buttoning his shirt back up and like trying to make himself. So it looks like there has been a physical altercation, which there has been to a certain degree. So I think for her to see that and be like, this is beyond just having a conversation. If she had seen him walk out mad, that would have been one thing. But she sees this guy walk out like with his clothes in disarray. And not just in disarray, like unbuttoned. So doesn't that imply then that something worse than a conversation is going on? That Peter physically is being like, I'm beating you up because... So now her husband is violent rather than just being unethical or immoral.
I guess. I really didn't necessarily view that through that lens. I don't think that's how the show was necessarily presenting it, although you do make a decent case. I'll leave that open to interpretation. I just have a lot of questions where it felt like we ramped up unnecessarily and hadn't built or earned the right to be there yet.
So then, but let's ask about the meeting between Cusco and Peter. How did that meeting feel to you? Because I forgot about it entirely and was once again, taken aback by Peter recognizing that he's wearing a wire and rips open his shirt and is like threatening him. So regardless of what Alicia sees later, what did you feel about that? Is Peter smart, or did you know that it was coming, or what?
I think he has to be in order to be at that level. I think he knows where a lot of bodies are buried, and he's in a fight for survival. So none of that necessarily surprises me. It feels very cliche.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but just like, we know what we're getting from this show right now.
Right.
And that it's not unfamiliar.
Okay. So, but him, like, reaching out and grabbing him, the second that he reached for him, did you think it was a wire, or were you like, he's actually gonna just kick his ass?
Neither. I don't think I pieced that together, but when it happened, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, and that's totally fair. It's like, this is our very first introduction to this character after him having been talked about previously. Obviously, she brings up like the bracelet and all of this stuff to him again. He's now dead. So he dead.
So it is one of these things that it's like a really quick entrance and exit of a character that seemed to have more implication when he wasn't on screen, but now he's here. So then I don't want to talk about this part too much, but I loved Eli Gold answering the door to Jackie and being like, and they're basically to each other like, who the fuck are you? And neither knows who the other person is. And I'm like, oh, Jackie, you're the worst. But the fact that Eli Gold just answers the door, I was like, that's amazing.
I was definitely enjoying the reprieve we've had from Jackie.
Yes. And she showed back up and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Tom, in my head. She's back.
She was very sparingly used. She is like quinine. In small doses, it cures malaria. In higher doses, it kills you. If she's selectively used like this, I can get over it. There are other characters we're going to have to talk about their coming on, then coming off, and whatever else. The kids is going to be in the next episode that we talk about, as opposed to this one, so I'll let that simmer for a moment.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's some stuff with the kids and other characters that are leaving the show or whatever that I'm fine with. Now, if Eli takes the place of Jackie, that will be the best casting on this season that I could have possibly imagined. You're basically replacing an all-star character with one of my least favorite.
Right.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah. No, Alan Cumming as Eli Gold, he delights me in so many ways. So we have in this episode, there's this whole, I don't even care about the case at all, quite frankly. Do you have anything to say about the case?
It was fine. Like, it was decent theater of the week. They kind of never leave you a solution as to what actually took place, so it's kind of a bit unsatisfying in the end. Mm-hmm. The biggest part is that she got one over on Stern, but I still maintain that if he is unethically practicing law, that she owes a duty to the bar to report him, whether she has privilege or not, because
I agree with you. So on that front, who also is working with Stern is this young little lawyer who has a little rapport with Carrie, and they've been...
What lawyers seemingly in opposing counsel don't have something with either Carrie or Will at this point?
Yeah, it's almost every episode. I mean, they're cute, I suppose. So,
I don't mind it. Get it, guy. Get some.
Sure.
But...
So, here's the sequence of notes that I made to myself, right? And I remember all of this happening, but it's a progression, right? So we have at the beginning him and the woman oh, we're kissing and we're talking about him leaving the firm. And so it seems like he's blurring professional lines, right? That she's trying to poach him. And then he goes and tells Diane and Will. As that was, were you concerned about the professional lines being blurred? Before we even get to what ultimately happens, when he comes and tells them this is what happened, did you believe that he had good intentions? Or...
There was 20% of me that held back from thinking that he was trying to play her.
Trying to play the other woman.
Yes.
Okay.
There was 20% of me that said maybe he's trying to double cross, but I think he also felt that he was in a strong enough position to secure his future investment in the firm. I think he acted, particularly by the time we get to 21, there's a certain confidence that he seems to have that he's locked up that position.
I mean, he did take out Santa previously.
Sure.
So he's got that. So yeah, when he finally, it's revealed that he turned her in or whatever, and she does the thing where she pours out the hot coffee that he brings her so that she can fill it up with water and splash it in his face. I thought that was funny. But she says to him, "You don't seem like the loyal type." And so he's being loyal to Lockhart and Gardner, but is it just in pursuit of winning out over Alicia? So, do we trust him, even though we've seen him be loyal? Do you think he will continue to be loyal, just based on this episode, not necessarily thinking about what's coming in the future that we've already watched?
Can you see me?
I see you, but you are frozen.
Okay.
I am trusting that.
With him, it's a yin and a yang at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll reveal something. This was a complete accident. I think it was either last week or this week or whatever. I tried to move to the next episode and skip ahead so that I didn't have to, because the Paramount Plus that my sister pays for has the ad version. So I was trying to skip over that and not do the couple of ads at the way end of the episode. And somehow I went to the last season, like some middle episode of the last season or something like that, and he was in it. So I know that he comes back. So I have to unfortunately tell you that, like, some of the surprise is a little bit ruined.
Okay.
Not intentional, but just letting you know, because it starts on this whole thing and I'm like, what the fuck? These people all look older and much more weathered. And then all of a sudden, Alicia shows up with a different man that it looks like, oh, who was it? It's one of the guys from Walking Dead.
Harry Dean Morgan?
Yes, that's who it was. And I'm like,
I love his character.
Well, we're really far ahead now. Like,
yes.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yep.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So, once I realized he came on screen, I'm like, this is wrong. Oh, this is season 6. Back out. So, just being honest about some of the issues.
Okay.
So I know that at some point he's going to come back around, or there's going to be some resolution with the character. He may be slightly out in the wilderness because they had to resolve that issue. But I think they also recognized at a certain point that character was as vital to the show as, I'm trying to think, who famously, Aaron Paul was supposed to be written out of Breaking Bad after the first episode. I wonder to a degree if this guy was supposed to be written out pretty early on, and they recognized he had some chemistry, that he was doing well. They rewrote the character a little bit, especially after like 3 or 4 that we said, that there seems to be a sea change in how that character is on screen, particularly as a lawyer.
Right.
And so
same as... Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Similar to what we'd said about... on The West Wing with Rob Lowe, right? That he was clearly supposed to be the focus, and then he starts moving into the background. I feel like it was the same in Lost for the main star who played Jack from Party of Five. I cannot think of what his name is.
Is it Matthew Fox?
Matthew Fox. He was supposed to actually die after the pilot, and they were like, actually, we're going to keep him in. Which seems like a bizarre leap that, like, you cast this huge name, and he's the main part of the show. So I think you're probably right. However, if we're trying to take it piece by piece, when we're looking at just this episode, even knowing that, yes, he comes back at some point, but we don't know how, did you trust him, or is he just a dirty player? Like, willing to do anything to have an advantage?
Because I've come around to the character, I see less of the skeptical nature or the cynical nature of how I approach that character. It's a healthy amount of skepticism without being cynical. I don't think... Yes, he's a maneuverer. He is... somebody who's trying to get advantages all the time. Most of the time, based on the people you're supposed to root for, or at least that the show is very much telling you you're supposed to root for, he's theoretically one of the good guys, and so his maneuvering works to our advantage as an audience member.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But there will be a time where it may come back to bite him, because at some point there have to be certain levels of consequence for all of the maneuvering. And maybe that's the end of 21 when we get to that point. But I don't think it probably will be.
Well, and we had him in the episode where they're trying to figure out who's doing all the tweeting about Alicia. And she feels like it could be him. And I think it's framed so that the audience thinks that it's him. He says it's not him, and I don't know if we fully believe it in that moment. Ultimately, it's not him, and then we go, oh, and then Alicia feels really bad. But I think we're supposed to, at least on some level, even if we like his character, that we're a little bit dubious about, like, skeptical, like you said, without being cynical, right? He has not proved himself to be untrustworthy, but we also don't maybe necessarily fully trust him, right?
That's accurate. I think there's a built-in level of skepticism about his intentions, which is why I said I held that 20% back. Even though I've been led to believe that he is serving the audience most of the time, there is that gnawing sensation in the back that doesn't allow you to commit your full self there. Like, you've learned a lesson a few different times. But I don't mind operators. I don't mind people that can maneuver and get things done and are creative in their solutions. And that goes back to me in some of my day jobs being a hatchet man. Because some of this stuff is stuff that I have to do.
Right. Makes sense. It makes sense. I think he's definitely, as you said, he is a different character than he was at the beginning. And you were like, I'm annoyed by him. He's a goober, whatever it is. And he clearly is stepping up. And we're not necessarily going to know this, but as you said, you feel like he's being better developed. So was that always the intention, or was that we're going to pivot from what we had already decided? I like to think that it was always intentional, right? It's a Tootsie Pop question. Exactly. It absolutely is. Okay. Let's move on to the next episode. Shall we?
Okay.
So, episode 20, called
Trying
Mock.
to skip an episode?
Yeah. Just trying to move to the end. Directed by Rod Holcomb, written by Todd Ellis Kessler. Original air date is May 4th, 2010. So, at the end of last episode, it was Peter running out the door. The alarm is going off, right? When Peter crosses the threshold, the electronic monitoring alarm begins to sound, followed shortly by the phone ringing when the police arrive. Peter is back in the apartment, and Zach blames a skateboarding trick gone wrong for breaking the monitor's sensor. Will participates in a mock trial as a judge. Alicia's building manager is arrested as an undocumented immigrant and is in danger of being deported because of her son's apparent involvement in a person smuggling operation. So, first impressions with this episode.
They take on way too many cases that they have no experience nor competence in doing, and that's a gross violation of the ethics rules.
It's just like whatever happens to be falling in every person that Alicia bumps into, she ends up representing.
I understand it's TV, and so there's a whole part of this that, whatever. But she shouldn't have been taking on immigration law.
Okay. But it's
just
her landlord.
She's not a general She's not a general practitioner. She knows nothing about immigration law. She's doing them a disservice. She should have made a call and tried to get her with somebody who actually knew what they were doing.
Okay.
I understand it's TV, so it's more emotionally wrenching that the guy who stepped up and lied for you, you're trying to help out, and then his mother and your landlord and all this. Yeah, okay, fine. I get it, but yeah. Now, for the phone call and all of there's a couple of things. One, when she picks up the phone and says, "My dad's in the shower," she makes no mention of the kid on the skateboard. So there's a break in the timeline of the story that says that there would have been a problem where, yes, it's some quick thinking, but that wouldn't have happened. But two, I got tipped off to this by comments on the YouTube channel from listeners and participants and whatnot, that the current show Elsbeth was somehow tangentially connected to this show, was another spin-off overall. And so I wondered when that might pop up, and this is our first inkling.
Correct. And she's in this for not even 5 minutes, like maybe 2 minutes. Right. So this is the first appearance of Elsbeth Tastoni, and she's played by Carrie Preston, and she's supposed to be Daniel Golden's partner. So that's Pete. Why do I keep wanting to say Cusco? Peter's lawyer, played by Miles Dyson, and this is her first appearance. She keeps appearing throughout The Good Wife. She then appears on the next iteration, The Good Fight, and then she also has her own full spin-off show called Elsbeth. Her, in this episode, it is like 2 seconds of her quickly thinking on her feet. Alicia's just watching her going, what the heck? She just comes in there and is like, bam, 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 bam. Makes everything perfect. I will be interested to see what you think of her character when she comes back. I don't think she's going to come back again this season. But she is... she is a recurring character. She gets steadily more and more airtime.
I can
Not
see why.
Symmetry.
I think that the character, even in those brief couple of minutes, had a really interesting and powerful entrance.
Yes, and that's only a fraction of the character that we eventually get to know. Yeah, so we'll leave it.
That's fine. I just thought it was notable because
people were talking about it.
Yes, and had tipped me off, and so I was just, when it pops up, I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right. Well, and you know who she's married to in real life?
Oh, in real life, okay. No, I have no idea.
In real life, she is married to Michael Emerson, who is on Lost,
a show I've never watched.
And, oh my God, does that mean we can do Lost on this show?
Technically, yes.
Kieran, write in your votes right now.
Can't happen until after next season, but...
Right, but... Wait, he was in this and... the show where it's Jim Caviezel and they're monitoring people. What the fuck is it called?
I have no idea.
I keep thinking Designated Survivor in my head, but that is not it. Hang on. It's going to kill me. I have to know. Hang on.
What am I hanging on to?
Yeah, you're hanging on to... You're going to fill in. Fill in, please.
What am I supposed to be filibustering with? You left us off at a really weird moment.
I did. Why have you never watched Lost? Now I want to watch Lost.
I have zero interest.
You. Oh, God. It's so good. I love it.
I also already
so
know
much.
the ending. So
who cares?
Exactly.
Person of interest. Did you ever watch that?
No.
Also a good show. Okay, wait. I'm writing this down. Lost and Person of Interest.
Yet another CBS procedural.
Okay, we're gonna go back to regular stuff. So, now I'm hoping for Lost. So, the question from that opening sequence where we realize that Peter has fully left the apartment and he chases after Alicia. How did that feel to you? Oh, he really does love her, or what did you think? Because your thought was,
yes.
Yeah.
But it got blunted very severely by how weak and pleading he seemed to be. I would have thought that if he's going to take that dramatic of a step, please don't leave me.
Okay, so what should he have done? Grabbed her and embraced her and
I don't
kissed
know.
her? And then, like, the wind blows and I am the keymaster kind of stuff happens?
They're in Chicago. Gozer is nowhere near them. But
I mean, they have tall buildings in Chicago. Okay.
They do.
So he should have been. You feel he should have been more aggressive, more manly?
No, it's like a tone.
Okay.
I don't know how to exactly explain it. It felt muted.
Do you think that that's a poor interpretation of his character? Bad writing?
It didn't feel desperate, and this is a fairly desperate act. Mm-hmm. It didn't seem to match the circumstance of the moment.
Does he sound too guilty? Like, I'm so sorry, you should absolutely be leaving me and I can't live without you. Please don't go, because I'll be sad.
He rushes outside. Mm-hmm. He's doing this huge grand gesture. And then when he gets outside, it feels so matter of fact and just, please don't leave me. Like,
so it wouldn't have worked on you. If Peter's chasing you,
he's got to have some bigger emotion there. It felt so muted. It was weird.
Okay.
It felt like somehow this whole thing shocked the system. But also, this is why I felt like she wasn't actually committed and she was just chasing a permission structure, because she immediately... Like, if she was truly tired, if she was done, it wouldn't matter that he left.
She would have kept going.
She would have kept going. But she was just looking for the drama.
Fair enough. And so you don't necessarily think it lived up to the cliffhanger at the end of the previous episode where you're like, he's going to jail and he's going to get shivved with a shank or shanked with a shiv. Okay. I mean, your heart was broken is really what you're saying.
I'm holding out. I'm holding out.
So then they go back in and they come up with this stupid skateboard stuff, which fine. And you've talked about how you don't necessarily like the kids. In fact, I think Zach has been on the bottom of the totem pole this whole time. Regardless of how you feel about the kids, what do you think about the kids having to deal with the alarm in this situation? Just kind of like ethically or stuff like that.
So above what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand that we want to make this like TV, but they both committed felonies.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Their parents are lawyers. Yes, they would have shielded them. But committing perjury, well, I guess it's not perjury because lying to the cops, not the FBI, is not a crime. It's not. But still, and then, I don't know.
Do you
the kids, it feels like it comes from a good emotional place, and so we're supposed to be forgiving and whatever else, but they really shouldn't have gotten involved.
Well, sure. Do you think that Zach's character is actually smart enough to have come up with this scenario?
No, because it's a bad excuse. It would have been an easy ruse to see through.
But the cop, he's a dumbass.
He's really not, though.
Right. Okay. We can move on from the kids because I know you don't like them. It didn't, but it made you feel maybe just a little sympathy?
If you don't want to move on from the children yet, when is the family meeting? Is that in this episode or is that the next episode?
I think it's this episode. Because the next,
okay, so we set up the whole condoms thing. You made such a big deal that they were Zach's condoms and that she just took them, and we've never once mentioned it again. To me, that is expressive that they were hers in the drawer and that he was just going to use them. Because otherwise, if this was truth-telling mode and there was stuff that was coming out, then wouldn't she ask about it? I don't know. Just seems like this is a fairly easy one where we could get in that question with next to no repercussions.
But he at least says that he is dating Becca. I think saying to your parents, like, it's easier to at least be like, I have a girlfriend, rather than, I have a girlfriend and we're having sex. Right?
Sure. I understand.
So I understand
However,
why you say that. Okay.
Also, classically bad parenting by Alicia there.
Because?
It's one-sided honesty.
Because she actually doesn't tell them.
She just backpedals immediately, gets out of the room, says, oh, we're done. No.
Okay. Well, it really was just Zach confessing to her and not the sister.
And it means that if it's
all.
not a true two-way street,
right,
there's no actual trust built. And so now this is potential for weaponization against him.
Absolutely valid point. Absolutely valid point.
And you know why I know that? Because I've been the son in a relationship where my mother is asked for honesty and it was only one-sided.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
And then certain information was eventually weaponized.
I can't relate. I don't know. I don't know.
That's fine. I don't. But I'm just saying that's where my head went immediately.
And that makes sense. I knew that it wasn't equal, but I didn't necessarily think of it as bad parenting. I just saw it as her like being like, I can't talk about this to my kids. But if you want that level of disclosure and honesty, you have to be willing to meet them. I'm not saying you disclose everything. Mm-hmm. There is a certain level of selectivity until the trust has been built up further. Sure, yeah.
And some of it, they're not adults yet, that they probably shouldn't have certain pieces of information.
Right.
However, when asked a direct question like that, and they're not stupid, you've just said that they're near adults, I think you got to give them a little bit more than, we're just not discussing this.
Right. Well, and I have to do the same thing with my kid, right?
Exactly.
Especially because she's getting older and older. And there are definitely times where, like, I can't talk.
I'll be honest, your kid may be smarter than you already.
I fully agree with that.
I know. That's why I figured I could get away with saying that.
Yeah, she's way smarter than anybody that I know, actually. And there are times when I've said to her, I can't tell you about this right now. I will tell you. It's that, but I try for it to not be that deferment of, I'll tell you when you're older. I've literally said, this is something that I don't want to burden you with. The information is hard, and et cetera, et cetera. So once you understand a little bit more about the world, I will be happy to share it with you. But at your age right now, or previously her age, I'm not ready to talk to you about that. What you do need to know is, like, something happened that made me really sad or angry or whatever, and then here's how I dealt with it without giving, like, explicit details. And then it's slowly, the older she gets, here's a little bit more. It's like putting a deposit in the bank. Like, here's a little bit more information. Yeah.
There's a certain level of trust, but you have at least explained to a degree that, while it may not be satisfactory, at least gives them some reason to continue to trust or to build on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Absolutely
I
valid.
think she undercuts herself right here, which is why they keep hiding shit from her, because they don't trust her. They, oddly enough, trust their dad.
I think that we can't under or over. Kids will do weird stuff intellectually and emotionally in order to maintain relationships or maintain a status quo with their parents, even if they know that there's some bullshit going on, right? And yeah. Okay, let's get off the kids. I wanted to ask you about the mock trial. So it's...
Okay,
the mock
first
trial
off,
is...
40-year-old men getting hit on by 25-year-olds. Speaking as a now 36-year-old man, any younger woman with some level of confidence who's attractive, sniffing around your junk, I'm sorry, men are, yes, going to be susceptible to that. It's a fact of life.
Okay,
we are programmed for survival and reproduction.
Okay, that wasn't actually where my question was going, but thanks for putting all that out on the table. Have you ever done a mock trial before?
Yes.
What was the subject matter of the mock trial? For this one, it was Hansel and Gretel.
For the one that I did in high school, it was a drunk driving manslaughter versus homicide trial.
Okay.
And then the one we did last spring while we were in person at Cleveland was another under the influence, intoxication, possible homicide situation.
Okay. And which side were you on?
In the one in high school,
turn out?
in the one in high school, I was on the defense.
Okay.
Because I got to volunteer for that.
Okay.
For the one in the spring, I was the prosecution.
Okay.
The one in the spring, I did a very poor job. I was underprepared, but so was everybody else.
Okay.
That being said, I was the only one really making any objections on the record.
Okay.
Because none of us have taken evidence yet, and that's where you learn all of the evidentiary objections for trial and whatnot. And so I'm the only one that seemingly knew most of them. Hearsay, not in evidence,
and
not introduced.
The one that you did in high school, what class was that for?
That I don't recall.
Okay.
To be fair, it was like 20 years ago.
Dude, it's been 30 years since I've been in high school, and I can still remember most things. So, I'm curious because...
Apparently they're coming to arrest you, or what exactly is going on over there?
The highway is right out here. It's like a major intersection at the edge of town, so... Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, Keely, my daughter, did a mock trial this last fall for English class, and it was on the Lord of the Flies. And so she was on the defense for Jack, the mean kid, basically over the deaths of Simon and Piggy. Basically, was he responsible? And we spent a lot of time, like, preparing for it.
Never read the book, never seen any adaptation of it. I know most of them die, but...
Nope. Only a couple. In fact, only two.
Okay.
There's actually a Netflix adaptation that's out now. Anyway, it was interesting to prepare with her and for her to have to think about, I really dislike this character, but I'm going to defend him, and here's how I need to figure out how to think creatively in order to come up with a legitimate defense. She lost, or her side lost, because everybody's like, no, Jack's an asshole. He killed them.
Well, that is kind of the nature of trial sometimes.
Fully.
Do you like
100%.
certain people? Yeah.
Well, and that is what Will says to this young woman who comes, and, like, the fact that her calling him out, what did you think of that? That it being this more sort of, like, insidious sort of thing.
I thought she was extraordinarily clever, and
Okay.
while he's upset by it, he should have hired her.
I agree. He absolutely should have. You are.
And then probably kept it in his pants.
100%. 100%. Do we trust Will to keep it in his pants? No,
No.
we don't.
Speaking as a man, we're programmed for survival and reproduction.
So don't work with anybody that you want to reproduce or practice reproducing with.
Probably not.
Probably
Speaking
not.
from
Okay.
experience, both of my parents work very closely together, and it is a fight.
Okay.
Daily.
Okay. Don't need to know that. How did we feel about the case of the week? Was just the mock trial, right?
Was that it?
I'm like, wait, let me revisit this. Oh, it's Peter sneaking out and... it's the building manager.
Yeah,
the
it's the immigration thing.
I was bored. by
Okay.
it. I was bored
Yeah,
the
I mean,
first
that
time.
that whole case and the U.S. attorney and all the other... It felt a little close to home in the current environment of...
I was like, the person was like, and ICE is going to... And I was like,
Yeah.
ICE, it's called ICE.
Yeah. That felt so 2010.
It did. Anything else to say about this episode?
I don't think so. I think we can finally move on. We're almost
Okay.
at the hour mark already, and we still have the biggest episode to go.
Right. Okay. So, episode 21, called Unplugged, directed by Christopher Misiano, written by Karen Hall, original air date of May 11th, 2010. We have... I can't read my handwriting. That's okay. The firm's divorce lawyer...
Divorce.
I think it's
Apparently
like
you
90
went Jewish on me?
Divorce. It is like 90 degrees in this room. I'm like dying. Okay.
Melting. You're melting.
The firm's divorce lawyer, David Lee, so Zach Grenier is back, is representing Caroline Wilder, the soon-to-be ex-wife of rock star Max Wilder. Just before the court date, Max Wilder ends up in a coma, with the soon-to-be ex-wife and the soon-to-be new wife fighting for control of his estate. Eli Gold comes to Alicia to discuss Peter's re-election. Alicia goes to Eli for a favor. In the meantime, the contest between Alicia and Carrie is decided. First watch impressions, Thomas.
Apparently we're going to see a lot more Eli Gold, and I'm okay with that.
Yes. So good. So good. Not just because of Peter, but because he literally is bringing the firm his business. He signs up, basically. Yeah.
But he's also using it as a maneuver
Of course.
to get her to sign off, which
Of course.
he is a damn good operator.
Oh, fully. I love everything about him. What did you think when she asks him to refer clients to the firm in order to help her out?
The backpedaling couldn't have happened faster and been more predictable.
Okay.
I've been in that situation where you ask for a favor and you feel so bad doing it, even though it's exactly what people have asked you to do.
Yeah.
And so you kind of retreat strategically so very fast because you feel embarrassed to have ever asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is. I think he realizes the opportunity. He seizes on the opportunity because he's really fucking good at his job. And
Right.
I highly respect that. And to be fair, they're a white shoe law firm with how many different departments? They can handle his business. I think they're
Right, yeah.
capable enough that him moving all of his stuff over there is going to make very little difference.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So at the end of it, we get more of him. She feels like she's become a little dirtier. And then we'll move to the ending and the cliffhanger. Obviously, I know Carrie comes back. How long he's in the wilderness remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Even though you know that Carrie comes back, when you were, again, trying to remove what you already know, what did you think?
About episode 8, I assumed that they were writing this for the progression that they would just hire them both because they'd have a tranche of lawyers leave all at once and then they'd have space opened up to hire them both. Realizing that given how closely they've worked on seemingly every major case that the managing partners have also worked on for the entire season, that they would recognize their invaluable nature and do the smart thing.
Okay.
You don't fire talent. I don't care what the budgetary and the rest of it, especially if you're just randomly giving out loans and things.
Yeah.
And taking on weird-ass cases. Like, somebody's got to be in control. Somebody who's an actual adult instead of just, oh, there's an itch, I'm going to scratch it. Which seems to be this law firm. Which is disorganized and chaotic and mismanaged and misled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that makes for great television.
It does. That's correct. That's correct. Did it feel like appropriate?
Yes, I think you kind of, by the end and when they show up and Eli Gold is there in person, you're like, okay, yeah, now I realize how we're getting out of it. I really couldn't have seen a world in where she was the one getting the axe. Especially when she started to say how important and how meaningful the job was to her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that Diane kind of came around and said, I didn't really like you, but I like you now, but I need you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
In order to try and keep your job. And then she ends it with, you listened to us and you did what we asked, and so here's your reward for that.
Right. I think it's pretty obvious that she would be more of a team player than Carrie, even though Carrie has shown loyalty. Alicia
and
has
maybe
more to
a little
lose.
more initiative.
Right, but Alicia definitely has more to lose by losing the job, so she's going to...
The bringing up of he doesn't have a family, so he's here more often, and that's usually not used as a reason against you. And it was kind of odd that it was just kind of thrown in there.
It's a complaint that people make about teachers on both ends. They have a family, so they can't stay late because they have outside obligations. So we like the teachers who can come and do everything and work for free and whatever. But then you also have concerns about, if they don't have a family, they don't have kids, they don't actually have any outside connections. How can they be an effective teacher if their only focus is on the job?
I'm a senior manager of a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently doing part-time online law school where I have a few weeks break all year round. I think I get like 8 weeks off out of 52 during the entire course of a calendar year. I'm doing this podcast and publishing and doing all of that and doing the editing and everything else for the other one. And yet somehow my parents still think I need to be dating somebody because I need to have that in my life too. That would make everything else so much easier for me. And my mother wanted me to join all these professional organizations suddenly because She wanted me to make more connections, which was just a thinly veiled, and I snuffed it out immediately. Mom, you just want me to meet people my own age who happen to be women. Well, if you happen to... Yes, okay.
So
my position my position on the whole thing right now has been, I cannot give enough time for a relationship that somebody deserves to have that level of commitment.
Sure.
And if I can't meet them halfway, that's like, yes, I could maybe get into something casual, but I'm not really a casual person. If I'm going to do something where it's an actual kind of dating thing, I'm usually much more invested. And then what else am I giving up from my life right now? Which, for the most part, the things that I do in my off time make me happy. So, but I get that it's a double-edged sword. I get that I can put in 60 to 80 hours in a given week and work on all these various projects and do whatever else. But even I've been feeling the strain of doing all of these things over the last 3 to 4 weeks and how much I've taken on for myself. I wonder to a degree, especially as we have this societal conversation ongoing over whether or not it's good to have these expectations of employees, what is or isn't fair ground. And as seemingly we're electing more democratic socialist candidates that want to completely upend the economic system and the workforce and put more restrictions and union powers and other things back in place, whether this will all be part of that conversation. Just maybe it's a general observation by me. And I know this show isn't meant to be political and commentating on current events, per se, nearly as much as we were doing last season with the West Wing, where there was a lot more give and take with that. But it's just one thing that didn't sit necessarily well in the back of my mind as an employer.
Well, and I think you bring up a really great point, because even if you aren't expecting your employees to put in 60, 70, 80 hours a week, are there going to be employees who do that anyway? Yes. But we also seem to have this concept now that whatever else you're doing, your hobbies need to actually be a hustle, right? So you need to monetize your hobbies, right? And so it's not worth your time to do something that you enjoy unless it's also bringing in income, because what's the point? People feel compelled to do that because of the standard of living, cost of inflation, all of that type of stuff.
I understand.
So at what point do you...
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's been... My daughter loves to read, and she's criticized for reading because that's a waste of time. I don't say that to her. It's a waste of time because it's not producing anything. It's not... et cetera, et cetera. But it's a leisure activity. It makes her brain function. But do you know what I mean? But it's perceived as lazy, right?
Why would that be? That's lazy thinking.
I agree.
I usually finish 2 books during my off periods from school. So every time that I'm in an off period, and I think I've finished 5 this summer, even while I've had classes ongoing. Mm-hmm. And this is me getting back into reading after like a decade away from it, because I was so burned out after undergrad and doing philosophy and political science and history and economics all at the same time, that I just had such ridiculous amounts of reading during undergrad. I just couldn't stomach it anymore. And so the only thing I would do is pleasure reading. That being said, I'm still fairly plugged in. I still do a lot of things, but it wasn't a pull for me to continue to try and read in the same context. At least now, especially as a business leader, I'm going back and forth between stuff that entertains me and stuff that is for my business or personal growth or whatever to try and give me some new ideas, some new feedback of trying to go back and forth. So anybody that criticizes reading, especially with how few people do it anymore, they're not worth the amount of brain space necessary to even respond. It's like the trolls on the internet. And to all the people that everything's got to be a side hustle, that feels such a social media created toxicity that I cannot stand. It is beyond me. Why do we have to, unless it's to the point where I have to do a side hustle because that's the only way I can also keep up with my bills, which is also a state of commentary on the American experiment right now. Why? Why do you have to monetize everything? You can't just simply enjoy it. I know that this show isn't getting like significant downloads in any capacity. I don't care. That's not the point of doing the show. I don't do greatest movie of all time with Dana because I wanted to be this great big success or push and do all of these other things. And frankly, I find most of the people that are usually the monetizers and whatever else to be the most fake.
Well, right. That's always been the thing with, obviously, my show with my dad, right? I'm documenting conversations with him talking about the things that we're going to be talking about anyway. And it's provided a format that, again, we would have come up with on our own to have these discussions because we were like, well, we're going to watch all of these. Well, we should turn it into this. And we need to be getting back into doing it regularly. But it 100% is because I want to spend time with my dad and talk about stuff that I enjoy. And it would be great if something were to happen where more people, we had a bigger audience or whatever. And you and I clearly do this show just because we like hanging out and it gives us something outside of what we are normally used to doing.
It gives me that creative outlet to discuss
Absolutely.
something that I wouldn't otherwise be doing and keep me on task to something else that, I mean, yesterday I hadn't watched any of the episodes for this. And to a degree, some of it feels a little homeworky at times.
Yeah.
But it was more enjoyable to do that as homework than the 5 other things that I really had to get done. That being said, still got a full set of laundry done, 2 different loads.
Good job.
I know. And edited and finished a motion and brief in that time and got a bunch of editing done because I know how to break it up and I know what my system is and how I need to work. And I took off most of Friday afternoon and all day Saturday to hang out with my parents while they were in town here. So I don't really have to feel bad for any of that because that was just qualitative time. If this is the same concept of people who have to constantly have their phone in their hand. When I'm in a conversation or I'm out with somebody, I'm at a bar, I'm at a restaurant, my phone is in my pocket. Mm-hmm. The one lone exception is right now I technically have a smartwatch, and so occasionally I will glance at that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I have been very, very good, and I know I'm somewhat of the exception. When I am in a conversation, that's the only thing that's going on.
Did you have to change habits in order to make that, or have you always been that way?
I've always been that way.
Phone? Okay, good for you.
The phone has certain addictive qualities, but it's when I feel bored, and I never feel bored in talking to people in a one-on-one sense. Yeah. If it's meeting new people or if it's in a crowded situation or there's a lot of people, that is always intimidating for me. Mm-hmm. But if it's small groups or one-on-one, never have a problem. I will go to a film discussion group and sit there for 2 hours and never once think about my phone.
That is great. I wish more people were like that. I wish that I could be like that on a more consistent basis. I think that I am for the most part, but I still catch myself sometimes where I'm just like, I should be present and accounted for. And
if I ran a restaurant or a bar, I would have a phone check.
Oh, dampening
like coat
service.
check, but for your phone.
Yep. My favorite restaurant in Las Vegas is a little breakfast place that actually has a sign on the wall like, no, we don't provide Wi-Fi, and you should put your phones down and pretend it's like 1993 to actually have a conversation with each other. Because it's creepy to be out and see people just like this the whole time, you know?
I won't go into further personal situations and commentary, but I'm surrounded by people who do that. And then I'm the only one sitting there, not on one, and I'm just like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, understood. Back to our episode.
as we're very far afield.
We are so far afield. But speaking of socializing, we see Kalinda go out with I guess we'll call him the cute detective. I think we're supposed to think he's cute. And they're having a drink together and they kiss. And then
she's
later,
late the next morning for the first time in the entire history of the show.
Right. And then the next time that or is it that's what he says to her? I don't want to cuddle. I just want to... And then he whispers into her ear and then they kiss. I think they had already kissed, right?
Yes,
like that was Yes,
this is when the talk screen was there and as other stuff was going to be going on, etc.
Right. Okay. What did we think of the implied hookup?
I think I've been coming around on her a lot more. She's still not in my favorite cycle of characters.
Okay.
But I don't have a certain level of aloofness or coldness with her. I think they've been slowly softening her up to give us a little bit more with her as time has gone on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Because she does say, let's go out. And she's like, I'm with somebody. And he's like, no, you're not. The way that you kissed me means you're not. So when we have... So sticking to Kalinda. So first of all, is she solving every single case now? Because she solves this one and is there at the last second being like, oh, it's if I call this guy on the phone, he's the one who did whatever. And then we have Carrie leaving, and she looks a little bit wistful. Does she seem like she's going to miss Carrie? I mean, we know he comes back, but pretending we don't know.
I think they have developed a bit of a rapport, but I thought it was interesting how seemingly earlier on in the season, their shared secretary was very much in Alicia's camp, and she snaps at her once, and all of a sudden she's Team Carrie. That, especially because we haven't spent time with that character very much, it felt weird. But then Kalinda's very, very, very Team Alicia. I don't know.
Right.
It makes strange bedfellows. Just get him back on the team and we'll see.
Do you think that because we've now seen her have a hookup, we actually didn't see anything.
She's allowed some level of vulnerability for once, and it does change the makeup of the character.
Sure. So then does that help think that, she does have an affinity for Carrie, that it goes beyond professional, because they've kept it professional this whole time?
I've thought that was there for several episodes of this show and of that show. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what more I need to say on that, because I already thought it was there. No.
I'm saying, I know that you have said this, but I'm saying, is it being broadcast? Because now
I think there are subtle things there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Anything else that you want to say about this episode? What about the unplug? Oh, we've got a surprise baby that shows up. What do we think about the case?
The rules of evidence are never more clearly ignored than when it's this show. Yeah. I don't know that much about evidence, but there's so much surprise exhibits or witnesses or shit out of nowhere that's so Perry Mason-like. And I'm just... It disappoints me every time.
What are you talking about? It was so thrilling. Surprise baby. I do know that the wife character, I was like, who is she? Why does she look so familiar? And I looked her up and I was like, no, it doesn't look... Oh, she was on, like, All My Children, like, in the late 80s, early 90s. So I remember her from a bazillion years ago. And I was like, the only time that I ever watched soap operas was when I was homesick from school. Okay. How is it that I still remember her face? Like, it was weird. But it was, like, really bothering me. And I was like, it's because I watched her when I was, like, 9 years old at home with the flu or whatever. This case was... I would have been more interested in it theologically, but it felt...
It felt icky.
Yeah, it did feel icky. And I think the judge summed it up pretty well. Basically, if I go with the baby, right, then this woman gets to spend all of the money. But if I stick with the wife, then this woman gets to spend all of the money. Like, he fully called it, right? That there aren't any... Nobody has, like, a moral superiority in the way that this goes down.
The biggest problem that we have is that we got next to no character development from the guy who's in a coma.
Yep.
And so we're just relying on the two women who are fighting over a $40 million estate, and so it feels gross.
Yeah, it does feel really gross. I agree. Okay, anything else up on this episode?
Nope.
Okay.
We left off at a good point.
Perfect.
And we have two more. And when you come back next week, we will finish up this season. We'll grade it out and we'll select our next thing.
Yes. Out of these 3 episodes, which one did you enjoy the most?
The actual case of the week was the most interesting when it was the newspaper, because I think it was the most involved. It felt like it was actually more important to the plot than what was going on behind the scenes.
Okay.
The second one is probably this Unplugged episode, even though we don't get involved as much as we probably could have, because, again, we're dealing with so much around it. Mm-hmm. And the one that's probably the least, I would say, is the mock trial / the ICE stuff.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I can see you. You're fine.
Yeah, that's not what I'm worried about.
Oh.
It still says unlisted is on my mic, so yeah, all right. I was just worried that it or unplugged or did something weird.
Have your character rankings changed at all?
Will starts to continually, like, slip lower at times. I just... He's a likable character, but I think they've positioned him wrongly. And so he's making a lot of decisions that I don't care for.
Wouldn't that make him more human and relatable?
Yes, possibly, but unfortunately that also means less likable.
Sure, yeah. Fair.
Diane's actually moved up, especially in lieu with the whole Gary Cole thing.
Yes.
Carrie has also moved up because I think they've positioned him well to be seen as a true equal, up to the task, clearly is a competent and capable person. Kalinda's moving up, but she's still somewhat in the median. Peter and the kids, whatever. You know, and just... Jackie's still at the bottom.
Yeah.
The kids are whiny.
Okay.
You know, Golden is okay. Cusco is gone. He did.
I'm disappointed to not have more Cusco to talk about, just because I like to say the name Cusco.
So, whatever. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. I don't understand how the judge from that weird Colin Sweeney trial that was out in the middle of nowhere all of a sudden ends up in family court in a completely different area of Chicago. But sure, if we want to keep the rotation going and such. But give me more David Paymer.
Yeah, agreed. Always need more David Paymer. So, yes, next episode, we are covering episodes 22 and 23, and these are our final episodes of this first season of The Good Wife.
And then I gotta be posed the choice.
Right, and it'll be our final episode of season 2 of First Watch Rewatch, so we will, be making a decision about where we go next with this show, what we're going to be watching. Are we going to talk about any of that ahead of time, or are we going to throw stuff at each other live on air? Cool.
Live on air.
Excellent. Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of the season as a whole, and then your interest beyond that.
I will say, and I'm going to try and do this strategically, I don't care if we do cops or police procedurals or crime stuff, but I think we need to move away for a little bit from legal and politics, because those are rich subjects. But I feel like the show is kind of fit into this weird groove where it's two backgrounds that I'm very familiar with and have a lot of things to say. And we probably need a better conversation that's just different.
Yeah, I agree. I have some thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. Lost. So we'll see where that goes. I guess here's the other question. Like, well, maybe I should just wait for next week. It's going to be interesting to see. There are lots of genres that we could choose from. And it doesn't have to be political or legal or mystery.
I'm going to narrow it down to a list of 5 if we decide to go that route. But technically it is within my choosing whether or not you even get to choose.
It is? But didn't I get to choose?
Yes, because you have to... No, not necessarily. You don't remember the choice from season 1?
Oh, do we do the next season
immediately?
That's true.
The likelihood is that we will choose something else.
True. Okay.
Not that I'm disappointed with the show, but my need to go immediately to the next season may not be there. Not saying that we won't ever come back to it.
Okay.
At which point, I would possibly just watch through the rest of the show. I think there's some richness to continue with here at some point. But at least where we're at right now, I would say it is likely that you will go to a choice. But I leave that possibility open.
Okay. And I will go ahead and say this. Some of my favorite characters we haven't met yet. And we won't meet this season.
And that's fine. Because then we can get back to it at another time. And I don't have to worry about the fact that I haven't met them yet.
Correct. That is correct.
Like Harry Dean Morgan.
Yep. I love his character. Anyway, let's move on. Let's wrap this up. So we will say thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Adjourned?
Yep. Adjourned.